Yes, sir. Um, cool. I know I started off issue 13 saying sorry that like I'm doing more episodes sitting down by myself and not having guests and stuff, but you know what, yeah, this one here was very like just unexpected. Like I just for the past few days have been seeing and hearing certain things that I thought, you know what, like I low-key need to just come on and say something, like just speak and I don't know, just give my voice or opinion on something, you know what I'm saying? And it's not in a bad way, man. It's actually quite upsetting. Like it all started off basically, the premise was I was on my phone and I was just scrolling through my Snapchat stories, and then I got to the end of my Snapchat stories and then I started just going like when it recommends people to add and stuff in it, so I was just kind of like bored, so I was watching those stories and I came across a female, and like one thing that she posted, like probably the only thing that she posted, was like a short video of herself, but the caption was like, I miss the happy me, like something along those lines, like I miss the happy me, like can't wait to bring back the happy me, or like let me bring back the happy me, or like something along the lines of she was happy, she's not happy no more, and she wants to get that back, you know what I'm saying? And it really had me thinking, like it's quite sad, isn't it? It's quite upsetting, it's quite, I don't know, it's quite, yeah, I'd say it's quite sad and upsetting. Literally, those are the best two words that I can give you. Just for the fact that, like, she probably represents what the vast majority of people are feeling and going through and thinking themselves, about themselves, you know what I'm saying? And that kind of sucks, man. Like, that really sucks. And it had me thinking, like, why is that the case? Like, why do people feel that way, and why do they experience these things so intensely and so much more? I feel like it's experienced so much more now than what it would be back in the day, innit? And I think it's the overexposure of social, I want to say social media. It's not that I have something against social media, but I really see how it brings more harm than benefit. And a lot of people, for some reason, try to hide behind the benefit argument, fully well knowing that it brings more harm than benefit, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of it has to do with the overexposure to other people's lives that we see on social media. And what I mean by that is, like, it's so easy to see hundreds of different lives on social media, and the worst thing is that it's not the best representation of what life is. Like, people really and truly only post what they want you to see on social media, and half of the time, like, they only post the good, so it's not even a true and honest representation of life itself. However, because that's the only thing that you're exposed to, and it's an overexposure of that, like, instantly all you're ever seeing is people flexing, people on holiday, people like flashing things, people looking happy all the time, like people only looking good. And I think it's relatively normal in the human experience and just human nature to not only just feel good but feel bad, innit? So when you are feeling down, or when you are feeling bad, and you're overexposing yourself to all these things on social media, like, whether you like it or not, you're subconsciously gonna compare, you know what I mean? And if the only thing you're ever seeing is happiness whilst you're in a moment of just sadness or in a rut or whatever it might be, like, it's gonna bury you even deeper. And it could even be the case for even feeling happy. Like, you might be feeling happy about something, like grateful about something, but then you go on social media and you see 100 other people as though they've achieved greater things than you, whatever it is, and then you just kind of like, you're just like, oh, like, what I done, was that even worth it? Like, is that even a good thing? Is that even a big thing? Like, that's nothing compared to what these other people do. And it's sad because you, even if you try not to compare yourself, you still compare yourself subconsciously. And that's like one side of the argument. And another side of the argument too is that, like, a lot of the people who I see online who suffer from these things are always trying to like look good for the camera. They're always trying to like present themselves as if they were happy, as if they were like doing well, or like flaunting things that like it's not really them, or just like flexing things that's not really there, man. Like, how honest are you actually being with yourself when you're doing these things? And I think that plays a big part in why people are so like upset or lost nowadays, because you're chasing things that really and truly like don't bring you nothing. The only thing that like this exposure that we have, and like such instantaneous exposure to these online norms, is like materialism and like superficial things, fighting for status, fighting for clout, fighting to look better than the next person that's next to you, rather than, I don't know, like being more cohesive. And I think that in itself has like a sense of emptiness. And I think that's probably why a lot of these people are quite like sad and just don't even know where they're going with their life. And that's upsetting, man. Like, social media's taught our kids to rather than work with each other, be better than each other. And although it's like healthy competition, it's not healthy competition. Sorry, I read that really wrong. Although there is such a thing as healthy competition, this is not healthy competition. Like, every man is out to be better than the next in like such an unhealthy way. Like, that's what you're wearing on your feet. Look at what I'm wearing on my feet. I got better things than you. But there's such emptiness to that. And I feel like that's what social media brings out in a lot of people. And it's not great. It's really not great. So now you can see the topic of discussion for why I wanted to jump onto this episode. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think it's quite upsetting that like people feel like that nowadays and they don't even know why. Yet for some reason they fail to just look around them or just look at their own actions and be like, maybe it's the things that I'm indulging in. Maybe it's the things that I'm allowing myself to be around. Maybe it's the things that I'm doing which I don't even realize have such a negative impact on me. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, just watching that story really made me think about like a lot of things, and it's quite upsetting, bruv. Quite upsetting that like people look back at their own lives and think, I used to be so happy and now I don't know why, like I've just gone downhill so much. You know what I mean? And I think, yeah, man, a lot of it does have to do with social media and just comparing yourself to things online that are not even true representations of life. I think also it's the influence to get things like materialistic things and to like be on the latest trends, and it's the influence to like do what everybody else is doing and just, I don't know, like try to be better than everybody else around you. That also makes you kind of feel like that, because you're doing things because everybody else is doing them, and you're doing things to like impress the other people around you or to better the other people around you. But really and truly, you haven't actually asked yourself, is this what I really want to do? And because you're made to feel as though that's what you need to be doing, you go against what you actually want to do, and that makes you feel crappy. That makes you feel like poo, you know what I mean? That makes you feel sad and upset, not just outwardly but inwardly towards yourself, because you're letting yourself down ultimately. Like, you deep down in your heart know you are letting yourself down because you're doing things that you otherwise would be doing, you know what I mean? So I've been there before, man. I've done that too, and maybe not with like superficial things like clothing, materialism in that way, but sorry, I keep moving around trying to get comfortable. Like, I've done that with people pleasing. Like, I've neglected myself and like the things that I've wanted to do and the things that I like and my own personal beliefs to please others and to make others feel good, to do what other people want to do, to like make sure that I'm not offending other people, and just to like also have validation from other people in a sense as well. And that made me feel so empty inside, man. That made me feel so lost and just like without purpose, without meaning. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. It's not a good path to walk down, innit? And I also think that like going into something else that I said too as to why people feel that way about themselves too, just like sad and upset and that they miss the happy person that they once was, is that when you draw the comparison between the times that you were happy, which was when you was younger, I'm assuming when you was like a young teen or like in your mid-teens, also as a child too, compared to where you are now, where you don't feel happy and you kind of feel sad and upset about certain things, is when you're now like a young adult or a late teen, or like mid-20s or whatever it is, still young adult. I say that because I'm in mid-20s. I think a lot of it does have to do with when you're a young kid, when you're a young teen, like you still have that like young like nature just to do what you want to do, to explore the things that you want to explore, and to like not be so conscious about what everybody else is doing and what about what everybody else is going to be thinking about what you're doing. You just do what you want to do simply because you want to do it, and you do it, you know what I mean? Whereas when you get older, you become a lot more conscious about the things that you do. You think twice about the things that you do because you're scared that somebody else might judge you, because you're scared that like the things that you're doing are different and you're not going to fit in, because I don't know, like you're not, you just got a lot of fear in it, a lot of fear, and that's what probably stops you from doing things. So you don't do the things that you genuinely want to do, and instead you follow what the norms are, which is a lot more easier to follow because everybody else is doing it. And the norms might be working a 9 to 5, finding a mediocre job. And when I say mediocre, I don't mean like a dead little job. I mean like a 9 to 5 that probably pays well, but like you do nothing. It's not stimulating. It's not what you want to do. Like it's just, you're there because you feel like you should be there earning money so you can, I don't know, get a mortgage on a house and do whatever XYZ, innit? Like for some people it works. And it only works if you find a job where it doesn't feel like a chore, if it doesn't feel like a burden, if it's a job that you genuinely find interesting and enjoy, then it's fine. Like, that's when it works for a lot of people and they can live that lifestyle. But for the most part, for the majority, they do jobs that they don't actually want to do. And they just succumb to it because they feel like it's a necessary part of life when it's not really. You know what I mean? Like fair enough, like the way society's, the way it's structured makes it hard for you to live if you don't abide by the way society is structured and follow its rules. But we're not really meant to be living in like a structure like that, you know what I mean? Like that only really and truly benefits not us, but the people who made that structure and the people who like thrive off of that structure, you know what I mean? We don't really benefit much off that. Imagine you're working 5 days a week, 52 weeks in a year, God's sake, 250 odd days, yeah, that's 260 days roughly. Out of 365, the rest of them are weekends, and you only get 30 days off. So you work 230 days in a year out of 365. I don't know about you, bro, but like, I don't want to be signing off more than half of my life to a job that tells me what I can and can't do, to doing something that I don't really find interesting and I don't really want to be doing. I don't want to be signing off half of my life to a company that doesn't give a toss about me. I don't want to be signing up like more than half of my life away to making somebody else's pocket rich. I don't want to be signing off more than half of my life to, don't know, man, things that are not actually necessities, you know what I mean? Things that are not actually important, things that I don't care about. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. Because what happens is you end up staying there until you're about 65, let's just say, give or take. And if you started working at 21 as soon as you graduated, that's a good 45 years of your life. Probably more than half of your life. And by the time you retire, your pension's probably dead and you're probably broken to the point where you can't even move and enjoy your retirement. Is that a life worth living? Ask yourselves, innit? My answer is no. I just can't do it. I can't do it. So that's another reason for why people tend to be like so, I don't know, like depressed, sad and like angry and all that sort of stuff. And it was funny because I was listening to a podcast between Jimmy Carr and Joe Rogan, and they spoke about these kind of things, innit? Like people not actually depressed. Like depression is a chemical imbalance in your brain, like hormones and this and that. Like people are actually just sad, and they're sad because they're not okay and they're not happy with the decisions that they've made themselves that have put them in these particular places. So you're sad because you're in a position that you don't want to be in, but there's something that you can do about it and you're not doing anything about it, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying being sad is a bad thing. It's important to experience both sides of the spectrum, because I believe, this is my belief in it, like you can call me crazy, or you can have your own belief, like you can disagree with me. I don't mind. Disagree with me, please. But my belief is that life comes as duality. I spoke about this in a few of my other episodes. Life comes as a duality. There is always going to be the contrast of two. So whether that is, if there's happiness, there has to be like sadness. If there's anger, there has to be love. If there's like, I don't know, lust, there has to be love or discipline or whatever it might be. Do you know what I'm trying to say? There's always a duality. If there's a man, there's a woman. If there's, I don't know, the old, there's young. If there's left, there's right. If there's hot, there's cold. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, life is a duality, and the reason maybe for why life is a duality in that way is because without the one, you wouldn't know what the other one is. So the contrast allows you to distinguish between the two, and it allows you to experience both. You know what I mean? And just, I don't know, it gives you more wholesome experience. And like, thinking about it again, the point I was going to make is that I don't think being upset is a bad thing. I don't think being sad is a bad thing. I don't think being in a state where you're like anxious or depressed is a bad thing, as we're told that it is. I think the more so, for me, the way I experience them is they're indicators that something is wrong, so there's something that I need to do differently to fix the situation. There's something that I need to do about my current situation right now to move forward and progress so that I don't feel like this no more. So if I'm sad and upset because I'm not happy about the position that I'm in and the places that I've taken myself, well, then it's an indicator that I need to start doing things differently. You know what I mean? So people need to be a lot more appreciative, actually, of the times when they are sad, when they are feeling down, when they are feeling like, I don't know, like maybe anxious or depressed a little bit, because these are the indicators that allow you to figure out what to do next. And if you're not using it for that purpose, you're letting it consume you. You're letting that particular feeling embody who you are. And if you are embodying that feeling wholly, like as in wholly, and not trying to feel anything else, and of course that's just going to be like you, and that's how you're going to characterize yourself. And I guess fair enough, you can say it's pretty cheap coming from me, who like isn't clinically depressed, isn't clinically anxious, or any of that sort of stuff. But I also cannot sit here and say that I haven't experienced any of those feelings before, because I have. And fair enough, it's different for everybody, and I get that. But on the same like line, we are all also one and the same. Like, we are all humans. We all experience the same emotions, just through different experiences. Like, my happiness might be going jiu-jitsu and getting a submission, whereas your happiness might be drawing a picture and it coming out nicely how you anticipated it. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's still the same emotion. It's the emotion of happiness. Like, I might be upset when, for example, I might be upset when somebody in my family passes away, but you might be upset when you make a hot chocolate and spill it all over the floor. Like, fair enough, okay, you can't compare the two, but you get what I'm trying to get at, innit? Like, we both feel the same emotions, just through different experiences. So if I'm able to feel the emotion of like sadness, being upset, or like misery, or whatever it is, and I'm able to use that and appreciate that feeling, which tells me I need to do something differently in order to like move forward and progress, well, then you can too. And if you feel upset and if you feel down because you got a job that you literally hate, and because you hate it, it sucks when you do it, there's something that you can do about that. You know what I mean? Like, especially if we're young, especially right now, if we're in between the ages of like, I don't know, like 16 to like 28 to 30ish. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying if you're past 30, it's gone for you, like you missed the train. It hasn't, but maybe it's a little bit more tougher. But I'm not saying it's impossible. But what I would recommend is start looking at the things that like really get you going, the things that you really find interesting, the things that like you, when you do it, it's like, I am really engaged in this. Like, this makes my brain work. Like, this brings me a sense of like, I don't know, enjoyment, as well as pride, as well as like challenge, but a good challenge. You know what I'm saying? And the more you explore those things, the more you find what's for you. So there was a mad quote from Picasso that really stood to me, innit? So purpose is finding what to do, like what you're gonna do. So like your purpose is like finding what is for you, basically. And like meaning is giving that away. And that was quite powerful, you know what I'm saying? Because I've always been a big believer in life is service. Life is service. Like, to live a good life, like, in whatever it is that you do, serve the people that are around you. Like, make sure that, like, what you're doing is of service to other people around you. And that quote embodies that. Like, find your purpose. What's your purpose? What is it that you are meant to do? I don't know what that could be. That could be being a comedian, making people laugh. That could be as simple as being a cleaner and just cleaning people's houses and leaving it spotless. That could be something along the lines of being a valet, being like a private driver. You enjoy driving and you like driving people around. Well, give them the best service possible. And meaning, like, doing something meaningful is giving your purpose away to others. So if you are a private driver and a good driver, well, then to give that away to others is to do that service to other people to the best of your ability. If you are a comedian, be a comedian to the best of your ability and share that with everybody around you so that you can make everybody else laugh. You know what I'm saying? And I think when you start looking at those kind of things within your own life and finding out what your purpose is, by like exploring the things that really interest you and like really diving deep into them, even if it leads you to dead ends, like, you never know, you might find another little avenue through the side and then start doing something else that you find really interesting until you eventually get to the thing that this is for me, you know what I'm saying? And I think once you start exploring that nature, once you start exploring that side of your own life, you start finding that happiness again, because now I'm doing things for me again, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing what really gets me going and what really makes me happy. And then you become a lot more confident in yourself, because now you're able to say that I do the things that I genuinely want to do. I don't do things because I'm made to feel as though I need to when I don't want to be doing it. And maybe that can start lifting that like sadness that you have and start bringing back the old you that you miss, because the old you was so happy. And when you think about the old you, it was probably when you was younger doing whatever the hell it is that you wanted to do. We just lose that as we get older. And it's funny because Jesus says all the time, like, receive me as one of those. And when he says one of those, he means like children, like babe, like, you know what I'm saying, like childlike. And when you think about the nature of a child, they're always exploring, they're always doing things that only interest them. They don't really care about anybody else and what anybody else thinks, you know what I mean? And they're playful when they do these things. They don't ever take it so seriously, man. They just have fun doing what it is that they're doing, and like they're always exploring, you know what I'm saying? And everything they do is off of intuition. There's no fear behind anything that they do. It's just always intuition and instinct. There's no like, oh, if I do this, like maybe it will go wrong. Like, you see a kid climb a fridge and jump off it and he's no fear whatsoever. You see a kid go to like a cat and just grab it and there's no fear whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, fear and that is just, it starts to get like ingrained in you the older you get and the more experiences you have, and like the more you start looking at these experiences as if they're negative and bad. There's just always something to learn, but they're not negative and bad though. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, like, these were things that I saw recently, and they made me quite, like, it had me thinking, man. There's a lot of people out there that really don't do what they want to do, and it's quite upsetting because like they don't feel happy with themselves, man. And sometimes they feel stuck and they don't know what to do and where to go and like how to fix it. But sometimes the cure, the solution is actually quite simple, you know what I mean? Just look within. Like, look within. Look at yourself and look at what you have been doing. Write down a list of the things that you do, like literally. Write down a list of things that you do. Like, the things that are priorities in your life. And when you write down that list, ask yourself, do I actually need to be doing this, and do I want to be doing this? And if you find that the answers are no, well, then you can start doing something about that, innit? And I also think too, like, even if you are doing like the thing that you would like to do, like if you did find your purpose and like you are doing that thing and pursuing that thing and you're still unhappy, like maybe it's a lot smaller than just like, what is it that I'm doing in my life? It could just be like, what are the actions that I do day to day that like kind of go against my own like virtues or my own morals, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people, like, go back to the social media thing, for example, that are always trying to look better than everybody else. So like, they'll be, I don't know, like putting up a life that isn't them, or like, I don't know, taking pictures that like, bro, that's not you, man. Just stand normally or just look normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no need to just try to go above and beyond. There's people out there that like who live outside of their means just to look good on social media, but like it doesn't feel nothing for them. So these are like little things that people do, you know what I'm saying? Little things that could also be, for example, like imagine you're a guy and you're trying to like, I don't know, win over a girl, but you're lying about who you are to that particular female just so that you can look good, so that you can get with her. Like even things like that are lying. They're like dishonesty. And you deep down, you know that's not you, bruv, but you're still doing it. And then you ask yourself why you don't feel 100% and why you don't feel like happy or why you might feel upset. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the little actions, the small actions. I'll be honest with you, I've been there too. Like when I was younger, like I've been there too. I've made myself to look as though I'm a particular way when I might not be, just so that I can like move to a girl or just like whatever it is. And like fair enough, in the moment it's like, oh fine, it worked, haha, great. But like there's a feeling of emptiness that comes right after, you know what I'm saying? And was it worth it? Not really. I can tell you like it's not really worth it, you know what I'm saying? So I think all these little things, man, we don't take into consideration any of this stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like some of us just live really, really mindlessly. Some of us just live without thinking. Some of us do without thinking. And fair enough, like it's cool to just live and not have to like be so predetermined with everything that you do, and also just like premeditate everything that you do. And like fair enough, like a lot of people just want to live without that fear of like, oh, if I do this, like blah 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 blah. But it's not about that though. It's about being wise and smart with the things that you do, you know what I'm saying? I'm a strong believer that life is literally just an experience. We're here to experience what life is like, but there are a set of rules to abide by, you know what I mean? And the two main rules are love God above all and love your neighbor how you love yourself. And if you follow those two key rules, and obviously like if you want to expand into those rules, there's so many things that like come into those rules that would like takes a lot more than just those two. But like they give you the structure for you to experience life fully and wholly. Like holy, not holy. Oh. every time. Anyways, they give you the structure to really experience life in like the best manner possible. And rather than that giving you limitations, it really opens up so much more doors and gives you so much more freedom. You know what I mean? Because freedom is not being able to say yes to absolutely everything, or freedom is not saying yes to everything, rather, you know what I mean? Freedom is having the choice of saying yes or no to everything. So the world's gonna offer you so many things. The world might offer you crack heroin, but just because it offers it to you, are you gonna say yes? And if you say yes, do you feel like you're only saying yes because the world has that to offer you? That's not freedom. You feel obliged to say yes, you know what I'm saying? The world is going to offer you social media. Just because there's social media, does that mean you have to live with it now? If the answer to you is yes, but that's not freedom, because you feel obliged to live with social media just because it's there. Freedom is being able to say, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. I think I will do that one, you know. That one seems quite interesting. Yeah. That one's kind of like for me, that calls my attention. I'm going to go do that. That's what real and true freedom is. And loving God above all and loving your neighbor how you love yourself allows you, to explore the world freely. Because loving God above all, and I liken it to something along the lines of this, and I think I've already told my sister about this, and she tried to get on to me, because obviously they look at like God and like Jesus in a different light. Like they look at it through a religious lens. I tend to not. But loving God above all is listening to that voice of guidance and intuition that you have above the rest. And I'm not saying listen to your ego. That's two different things, and you have to learn to be able to distinguish between the two. I'll give you an example. Let's say, like, something as simple as I ate some food, I left the dishes in the sink, and I've just gone off and done something else. And then somebody pulls me up on it and it's like, yo, like, you ate your food, you left your dishes in the sink, like, it's common courtesy, or at least it's respectful to wash your dishes after you've eaten and just not leave them there for somebody else to wash for you. And your ego will tell you, well, you was busy, like you had something else to go do, so you left it there, and like you do countless of other things for other people anyway, so why can't they do you this one favor? And if you listen to that voice and you like give out the argument to the person who's pulled you up on your nonsense, that's you listening to ego. But really and truly, the voice inside you, the other voice inside you that tells you, you know what, like the other person's got a point, just apologize, and next time don't do that again. That's the voice of God. That's God telling you, like, you know what I'm saying, just be humble, like humble yourself, have humility, and just know that you was wrong, and it's okay to be wrong, because that's what your peers are there for. They're there to correct you and just make sure that you're not doing the same mistakes again, so you can all live a lot more cohesively. However though, I think it's human nature, and it's normal human nature to listen to that voice of ego, because we're the ones that give ego that voice, but we're not the ones that give like intuition or just like that voice inside of us, that voice of reason. Like we barely feed that voice. That voice comes from God, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I say learn to distinguish between the two, because loving God above all, the reason why that's a rule is because it's incredibly hard to keep. The reason why in the Bible it tells you and it explains to you how hard it is to enter the kingdom of heaven, is because that rule is incredibly hard to keep. Do you know what I'm saying? It's incredibly hard to be so in tune with that voice of intuition, with that voice of reason, that voice of logic, that like it's such a big topic in the Bible. And the only way for you to enter heaven is to listen to that voice. And heaven for me is a state of being rather than a place you go to after you die. I don't know what happens like after you die. You can only speculate. And I know a lot of people are going to argue that like the Bible tells you that there's a heaven and hell. The Bible tells you that there's a heaven and hell, and that's where you go to after you die. The Bible tells you that all the time. But the Bible also says, or Jesus also says to his disciples and the people around him, let the dead take care of the dead. They take care of themselves. Our God is the God of the living, so don't be too concerned about what happens after you die. Do you know what I'm saying? And every time he talks about heaven and hell, to me they always seem as though they're states of being. Hell is when you just in a completely different state where you hate life, you hate everything around you, like nothing works out well for you. You chase hedonistic pleasure, like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is just terrible. And a state of heaven, or when you enter through the gates of heaven, is because you're very conscious about everything. You're very like well calculated about the things that you do. You're wise about the things that you do. You know what I'm saying? Like every choice that you make because you know you're not going to hurt anybody else around you. You might benefit. You might be of benefit to the people that are around you. You make that choice because not only does it please like others, but it pleases God. You know what I'm saying? Like they're for me, they're states of being. So that's that rule, innit? Like love God above all. It's listening to that voice inside of you, that voice of intuition that like everybody else might tell you differently, that even yourself might shut down, that like, I don't know, might be contradicting at times, or might be just difficult to follow, but that's the voice of God. And sometimes it comes in another form, where let's say for example you've done something bad and like you try not to think about that bad thing that you've done, but for some reason that thought always pops into your head. No matter how much you try to get rid of that thought, it's not you that keeps bringing it up. So who is? It's God. So God's telling you, listen, take this thought, think about what you've done so that you can assess it, like pick it apart, see what you've done wrong, learn from your mistakes, and not do that again. That's the voice of God, because you're not the one that's like bringing that thought into your head and keeping it there. You don't want it there. You're trying to get rid of it, but it just keeps coming back and keeps coming back. It keeps coming back even though you do not want it there and you do not think about it. So who's doing that? It's clearly not you. You know what I'm saying? That's God. So that's how I look at loving God above all, is listening to that voice inside of you and being able to distinguish when that voice is God and when that voice is your own ego, or when it's yourself. You know what I mean? And it's tough. It's incredibly tough. But yeah, man, I don't know where else to take it from here, but like it was just interesting, man. It's been like an interesting past week, because all of this has happened over the span of the past week. Like just seeing that thing on Snapchat, and then like seeing that quote from Picasso, which really stood out to me. Listening to the podcast with like Jimmy Carr and Joe Rogan, which was really interesting, by the way. Like, these guys should definitely go listen to that. It really had me thinking about why it is that people just not happy, man. People are not happy no more. Like, for some reason, the elites of this world have designed a system to just keep us all oppressed. And I know that sounds like some tinfoil hat type stuff, but like, it's true, man. It's really true. Like, you are conditioned from young to get accustomed to a 9 to 5. Like, from young, you go to a school which is the same location every day, the same routine every day. You start at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, you finish at about 3. This is when you're young and you only have the capacity for those 6 hours. And like, everything is so rigorous, everything is calculated, everything is structured, everything is linear in a way where it's like, this is how you progress and you go up and up and up and up. There's tests that you have to do, there's exams, and if you don't do well, you're a failure. If you do well, you're a success. And then you go to secondary school, it intensifies a bit more. Sixth form or college, it intensifies a bit more. University, it intensifies even more. Then as soon as you come out, the only thing you're ready for is to get a 9 to 5 for a corporation, or for a big organization, or for a big company, or even a small company at that. And like, you leave, everybody else around you is getting a job, so you probably feel as well like, damn, I need to get a job too, you know what I mean? And you just scramble to get into anything and everything because jobs are going like this, you know what I'm saying? Jobs are going quick. So you're scrambling to get anything and everything. You land in a job, bro, and it's like, yeah, sick. Like, they're going to be paying me like, I don't know, 35k a year, 40k a year. But then like a month into the job, you're like, this sucks, bro. This is so boring. This is so, I can't do this. But now you're stuck, fam. Because you've conditioned yourself your entire life to become that, a number in a system, a work ant, fam. It's mental. So that's like, I don't know, man. I don't know why the system was designed in that particular way. I couldn't tell you why, like, we live in a world that's structured in that manner. A lot of people are going to argue, well, that's what we need in order for, like, society to work and blah, blah, blah. But, like, really and truly, the things that you are working for and all these corporations, would we need it? If everybody just, like, would remain humble and just had a humble life and just, I don't know, lived off the fat of the land? Maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not. Maybe not. And something else that I've been thinking about recently, I think like over the course of today and yesterday, was in Genesis when Adam ate from the tree, he ate the apple, and God said to Adam, because of your sins, with the sweat of your forehead, you're going to work for your food. I think for some reason, religious doctrine has now formulated that to be, you have to work a job in order to provide for yourself. So I mean, you have to work a job in order to earn money so that you can live like the life that you need to live. But I don't think that's the case. I've been thinking about this recently, and I'm gonna put something out there that, like, I don't know, you lot tell me if I'm on the right track, or you lot tell me if I'm not on the right track. In fact, you lot tell me if you agree or disagree, rather, because this is my track. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. So you tell me if you disagree or disagree. But I think when God said that to Adam, that with the sweat of your forehead you will earn your bread, I don't literally think he meant you were gonna have to work in order to be able to provide. I think more so it has something to do with consciousness, in terms of, like, when you think about it, every single action, maybe not every single one, but most of the actions that you take, like, you really have to think about whether it's a good action or not. So you have to put in the work to devise whether what you're going to do next is a good thing or not, so that you can then, like, actually do it or not. Most experiences in life come with baggage, and if you don't unload the baggage, take things out of that baggage, sort out the baggage, if you don't do that necessary hard work, like, the baggage accumulates and you end up carrying a heavy load. You know what I'm saying? So that's a necessary aspect of work that we need to be doing in our lives consistently in order to like live a fruitful life. And you're probably thinking, well then what does this have to do with earning bread? Well, a lot of the times when Jesus referred to like eat from the same bread as me and drink from the same wine as me, it is more so to do with do the same things that I am currently doing. If I was like, that's how Jesus would explain it. So it's do the things that Jesus has been doing. You know what I'm saying? That's eat from the same bread as me, eat from the same wine as me. Like follow the same teachings that Jesus has been teaching. Like do the same things that he has been teaching and also doing. Like follow in his footsteps. You know what I'm saying? In order for you to live a good life, in order for you to live a fruitful life. And that's what earning bread is. To earn bread is to live a good and fruitful life. To not be walking around with so much baggage. To not be like a detriment to everybody else. But to be of service to other people. To be a good fruit to other people. To be a tree that bears good fruits so that everybody else can eat. So earning your bread is staying on top of like, maybe not staying on top. Earning your bread is like, I don't know, man. There's just so many things that it could be, bro. And it can't just be one thing. Unfortunately, it can't just be one thing. But it's along the idea of like earning your bread is along the idea of like making sure that all your choices are wise and like well calculated and they're good. You know what I'm saying? And in order for you to be able to do that, you have to do it through the sweat of your forehead. You have to put in the legwork. You have to make the framework for you to like have a good mind, have a clear mind, have a very like well conscious mind to do good things, fam. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I've rambled on here about something that I found really hard to articulate and explain, but I hope it makes sense. I hope it makes sense. When God said to Adam, through the sweat of your forehead you will earn your bread, it's you are now going to be conscious, so you're going to have to think about everything that you do and make sure you think well, because if you think well, you will earn the bread, you will earn the fruits of heaven, you will earn the fruits of your labor, you will be of service to other people, and you will be a good person. You won't be like in a terrible mental state. Like you will be a strong person. You know what I'm saying? That's the bread that you're going to earn through the sweat of your forehead. So it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. A lot of people forget this. A lot of people think, yeah, that like being happy, being healthy, being good, being in a great mental state just should come naturally. It's like that sense of entitlement. They don't think that takes work, that takes a lot of effort, that takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of getting to know yourself, that takes a lot of practice. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get it in one go, fam. So that's another thing to think about, man. Whenever you set out to try to do something new, you wasn't spectacular at it the first time, was you? So if you've never been good at having a good mental, well then it's going to take time, it's going to take practice, you know what I'm saying? In order for you to be happy, man. But, yeah. This was just something that, again, like, I felt as though I should sit down and do this episode by myself, do this issue by myself, because it was something that I was thinking about. And although like I'd love to sit down and talk to many like different people and like speak to guests and like get to know them and explore their creative sides, or just like explore like their mind or whatever it is, like I also can't forget where I came from when I started doing this. You know what I mean? Like I started from like just my interest in reading the Bible and spreading like what I was learning to all you guys. You know what I'm saying? And now that I've kind of like started coming away from that because I wanted to explore different things, like I also can't neglect it. If there is something in my mind, like I see something and my mind's like, yo, like stuff like this isn't okay, man, and maybe you should like at least give your 2 pence about it so that I can give people food for thought so that they can go back and think about it, then I will, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, that's something that I hold quite dear and close to my heart, because I too at some point was there, man. I too was completely lost. I was derailed, fam. I didn't know who I was, didn't know what I stood for no more. Like, I had lost all sense of like self, you know what I'm saying? And that was scary, bro. That was so scary. And like, thank God, honestly, thank God, because I came out of that all in one piece, a much better person. Well, I can't really make that statement myself. My actions will show otherwise, or my actions will prove my words. But yeah, man, just for me personally, I feel like I came out of that so much more better and healthier, and anything and everything that I learned, gained, came out of, and all that sort of stuff because of God, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of that was invented by me. I didn't think up of any of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, God just gave me bit by bit. Take this, use that. Take this, use that. Take this, use that. Until eventually I just put all the pieces back together, man, and I rearranged them nicely. Well, I think so. I'm still in the process. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, and I'm never gonna be. Life is an eternal adventure. You know what I'm saying? Not eternal, but it's an adventure for as long as you're alive. So I know I'm not perfect. I still got my flaws, but I'm grateful to be where I am now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm also grateful for just being broken into pieces like that, because without that experience, without being broken into those many different pieces, I wouldn't have known that I had to rearrange myself. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have undertaken the necessary legwork to rearrange myself and to grow into another person, to become somebody that maybe is trying to be a little bit more wise and smarter about the things that I do. You know what I'm saying? Trying to be a better person. Like, maybe not trying, actually doing the legwork to become a better person. You know what I'm saying? Trying is doing but failing. I'm joking. Don't listen to me, innit? Take that how you want, but like, I'm just not a big fan of trying. I'd rather just be doing. I do, you know what I mean? So we'll keep this one short, sweet and simple. This one was just like a little note to self as well, just to make sure that I don't fall back into old habits, or I don't stop doing the things that I love doing. And also so that I could just give to you guys, and just to the few listeners, that like, life is not bad, life is not terrible, life is not misery and suffering. You just have to learn how to change your perspective on things, and you gotta learn to do the things that you want to do. Trust yourself and trust God to do the things that you want to do, and it's all gonna work out. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that will alleviate life suffering a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, well, I think that's a good place to close it off. Do the things that you love. Be of service to other people. Question everything that you do, whether it is a good thing or not. Even to the smallest things, like flicking through social media. I know a lot of you think it's an innocent thing, but hey, it's not good. And trust God, man. Trust your instinct, trust your intuition, trust logic, and trust reason. You know what I'm saying? But most importantly, do what you love, man. Do what you love. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, keep it there, innit? Short, sweet and simple. Thank you very much for listening, guys. I really appreciate it.